There we go.
Good afternoon, good morning, and welcome to Today at the Races at Old Hilltop as we get set and ready to go. It's Preakness week. How are you feeling? You had
Feeling good.
2 cards of morning lines to do,
Yes.
well, every day really, but Black Eyed Susan Day and Preakness Day, they were a doozy.
They were a battle. Friday's card, unbelievable. From a betting standpoint, it offers a ton of value to everybody, and hopefully everybody can partake in it. It's got value galore. Some of the toughest races. I had Frank Carulli, from remote helping us a little bit. I like to kind of get a gathering together, and we talk through the races. And a couple of those races on Friday, some of the hardest races we had to line. You could go a couple different ways, maybe 3, 4, even 5 different ways for the favorite. It was tough. Saturday's card not as bad, but another good card. Looking forward to it.
I thought the Black Eyed Susan must have been tough to line because you have horses coming out of Graded Stakes Company.
Yes.
You've got Moana, who ran a fast figure, just breaking her maiden at Keeneland. That race gave me a little bit of a
The
tough
Miss
time.
Preakness Stakes
Miss Preakness
was
is
another
tough.
doozy.
A lot of turnbacks in that race. Horses cutting back from 2 turns. So there's been a lot going on here, and we'll start off with, of course, Black Eyed Susan Day. We'll get straight into what's going on in the next couple of days before we get to today's card. Black Eyed Susan is coming up on Friday afternoon. Looking forward to that. It is the ultimate girls' day out, so tickets are still on sale. Go to pimlico.com, preakness.com for more information there for Black Eyed Susan Day. We also on Friday have the John Deere Gator raffle. As you can see, tickets are $10 a piece, or you can get 6 for $50. We will be announcing the winner sometime tomorrow afternoon, but those tickets are available at the racing office or guest services counter. Now, getting into the Preakness, well, we're just, how many days? We're 2 days, 2 days out from the Preakness. Everything is coming together nicely. Of course, yesterday was the post position draw, and Always Dreaming aligned as the favorite in there, and Classic Empire the second choice. So go online and purchase your tickets. They're still on sale. You don't want to miss out on the 142nd Preakness Stakes. And talking about the Preakness, of course, the infield fest, we've got Sam Hunt on the main stage. We've got special guest in Zed. And on the DeKuyper stage, we've got Good Charlotte, Low Cash, and High Valley. I've been looking forward to hearing Good Charlotte for a couple of months now, but Sam Hunt, a fantastic headliner. And this has been just growing and growing in popularity over the past couple of years.
They've been able to strike every year, it seems. They get an act just before they get ready to pop.
Yeah.
And I heard Sal talking the other day on 105.7 The Fan, just saying, we get them. We might not be able to afford them next year, but luckily we got them this year. And the case, again, with Sam Hunt, Good Charlotte, see them kind of come out of, they've been laying in the weeds a little bit, but a real quality band from around here. Looking forward to maybe stopping over and catching a little bit of their set if I can in between races.
We set them up for success. The Preakness Infield Fest sets them up, all these acts for success the rest of the year. But really looking forward to that. And, of course, news. We've been watching all the Preakness contenders train in the morning throughout the week. Hats off to our TV department, Steve Martin, our camera guy, and Stan Salter going out there every single morning and getting great stuff. And it still continues today as we had your Kentucky Derby get out to the track this morning at his usual time of 5:30 a.m. We'll show you that video of him training. And he was a little bit more aggressive today, I would say, than in a couple of days previously. We saw, if we could show that video of him training this morning. And, of course, he's kind of hard to see. It's a little bit dark outside at 5:30 a.m., but really pulling exercise rider Nick Bush today. Yesterday, I thought it was a little bit more controlled. The day before, he still let out a couple of bucks. He's just a hard horse to get along with, but Nick Bush does a phenomenal job. You can see him really pulling him there, though.
Absolutely. He looks just ready to go. No works in between. Just kind of let him do this. He looks strong, fit, very able, and clearly the one to beat.
And Todd Pletcher, of course, coming out of that morning training, he had a couple of comments on what he thought of Always Dreaming this morning and what we will see from him tomorrow morning.
I thought he had a very enthusiastic, strong, contained gallop. He's given us a great feel, shown us everything we're hoping for, leading back in 2 weeks. That tank seems full. He seems eager to go, and we're just trying to keep him on the ground one more day. We went about 1.5 miles this morning, and actually I think I'm going to just jog him tomorrow, which is what we did the day before the Derby. give me an opportunity to take the draw reins off of him one day and just jog him and go pretty easy tomorrow.
That was a very interesting comment from Todd Pletcher. Of course, he said that they took the draw reins off him the day before the Derby, did jog him with his regular equipment, what he had prior to this equipment change to the draw reins, just to get the feeler, because in the afternoon you don't want a horse that's not that's not used to that particular equipment.
Absolutely. You don't want him to throw him a curveball, let him get ready, get back into a little bit of routine. If it worked before, I'm sure it's going to work again. And, like I say, he looks great on the track right there. Doesn't look like he's lost really anything.
No, that's the craziest thing about it. Maybe even better coming out of the Kentucky Derby. Just looks phenomenal in the morning. And we also had the opportunity to see Classic Empire train this morning. He is the second choice on the morning line. We'll show you what he did this morning. And what he has been doing is turning around, jogging one the wrong way. We'll roll that video, jogging one the wrong way, and then going straight off one turn around there. And today he just kind of spurted off and got right into his gallop after Martin Rivera did let him stand for a little bit. But he's been looking fantastic. He looks like a very happy, healthy horse and all things good in the Cassie camp.
Yeah, certainly looks like a dangerous, main contender to the Derby winner always. And we talked about the trip, sure. And he draws just outside of him. He's got some tactical speed in his own right. We saw in the Breeders' Cup and some of the other races. So I'm sure he'll have the measure somewhere when they leave the 3/8 pole.
And this is what Mark Cassie had to say about Classic Empire's enthusiasm this morning.
I was happy. I walked him out to the track this morning, and he was eager to get there. Sometimes he's not as eager, especially this winter. Sometimes he didn't want to go there. Now it's like he's ready to go and do his job.
Are you as confident?
So looking at Classic Empire, you said he's a horse that has a little bit of tactical speed. That was totally, you had to throw it out, of course, with the early trouble coming out of the gate in the Kentucky Derby.
And he had a little bit of trouble prior before at Oaklawn, so he just needs that clean break, come out straight and true like Always Dreaming was able to do in the Derby, and that'll put him in a forward position. I can't see him more than a few lengths off the lead early.
And it's funny, looking at the Preakness, you've got Always Dreaming, Classic Empire, Conquest Mo Money, who figures to show speed, and Cloud Computing, who's pretty quick in his own right, too. And other than that, it's a steep fall off in terms of early speed.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and Cloud Computing, he's another one. He's going to have to move up. He might draft into a really good trip, but he's got to still find a little bit more through the last 3/16, eighth of a mile.
All right, well, that's your Preakness news. That was the happenings this morning here at Old Hilltop. We'll get into today's card. Wanted to show you our featured wagers and some of our carryovers as well, and we'll get right to it in today's opener. We do have 10 horses in today's opener for that Rolling Super High Five carryover. It's over $3,000 today. In the Rainbow Six, that does kick off in the fourth race on this 9-race program, we've got a carryover just over $3,200, and we've got nothing in the late pick 5, but that does start in today's fifth race. Keith, you took a stab at the early pick 4. I took a stab at the Rainbow Six, so we'll get to that. And we'll take a look at your track and weather conditions. Right now, it's a little bit toasty outside.
Steamy out right now, no doubt about it. But there you see, main track fast, turf course firm, lush, beautiful
Look at that
conditions.
turf course.
Yeah, rail is set out at 15 feet. I'm sure that'll come down tomorrow, but we're going to start with it today, out 15 feet, but fast and firm at Pimlico.
All right, and as I previously mentioned, we have 9 races on tap, fast and firm, getting into the 90s. It is sunny and beautiful out today. First race post set for 1:10 p.m. So we'll get to it with today's opener. This is a maiden $16,000 event. Of course, this does start the Rolling Super High Five and that early pick 5 wager with that industry low takeout at 12%. So you can see the carryover there, just over $3,000 in the Super High Five. We're at 5 furlongs on the turf for today's opener, Keith, and we'll start with Party Region. And wanted to go back and show you a video spotlight replay of this horse's performance 2 starts back, just from the quarter pole to the finish. This was 5.5 furlongs on the turf at Laurel, and I actually really liked what Xavier Perez did with this particular horse in that used him a little coming out of the gate, secured a position on the lead. He couldn't quite sustain that speed to get the 5.5 furlongs, but also we saw throughout the day, Keith, that it kind of looked like that the turf was kind of helping horses with that closing or stalking running style.
Yeah, and the winner there, he's One Wild Dude, ran a big race to come down and encounter a little bit of traffic and surge late. Do you have video of me in the press box when this horse hits the wire and gets nabbed at 19-1, throwing the chart pad across the room?
No,
We had to make
but
up
I
the
would
chart
like
for
to see that.
Yeah, that was tough. Brutal beat, but really good gate speed. As you said, sent him out, got position, nursed him around the turn, just got beat by a little bit better horse. I think he's clearly the one to beat today, Gabby, right on the engine from down inside. I think he's the speed of the speed and can take him wire to wire.
I agree, and I like the slight cut back to 5/8 too. I think that's going to fit him perfectly today. Now, the 8, Jake's Outcaster, was one that you and I both wanted to use, and the Exacta, going back to, this is a horse who's obviously stretched out to a distance of ground in the past couple of starts. I just think he's a better sprinter.
Absolutely. Cousin Joan, she does a nice job. Her horses always look good. This horse is turning back in distance. Fresh. Expect more speed out of Jake's Outcaster. Maybe he gets the first run. He gets the jump on a deeper closer like Major Anthem.
And you use Olympico, and to me, he kind of looked like a feast or famine type of situation because I do think he's a better horse if he can make the lead. Unfortunately, I think he's just going to be chasing the speed of Party Regent, and it might not shake out too well.
Exactly. Will he have that last finishing punch? I'm not sure. The horse in his debut, the second place finisher, Stone Hard, is an improving type of horse for Sano. He's come back and run okay, running like the mid-60s. I think he ran okay for a 35 optional. But I just think Party Regent's quicker. I think the 6 might fade a little bit late and maybe set up the best price in your Exacta probably to use underneath would be the 8, Jake's Outcaster. Major Anthem, he's had a ton of tries. Good effort for the maiden special weight, but he gets going so late. Will the 31st race be the charm for him? We'll see.
I don't know about that. We will see, but a nice Exacta to start things off. We are on the same page in the opener as we turn the page to the second race. This is a non-winners of 3 lifetime event in for that $5,000 tag, a mile and a 16th on the main track, and we'll take a look at the early pick 4 ticket that you did construct.
Yeah, we had a couple late scratches thrown at us, so we had to alter things up a little bit. Starting at three deep in race 2, I think you've got a price shot with the 4. Lock Up the Bourbon, race 3, 6, and 8. Celtic Moon looks like the horse to beat, but Brothers Time could be very dangerous on the front end. Race 4 had it spread earlier. We backed it down to 3 horses out of the depths. Frogman Mel and the 11 Soup to Coop for Kieran and the 2 and the 7 to wrap it up. We're going to try to beat that heavy favorite, Grace Isabella, in race 5.
All right, I like it. Nice, affordable ticket. Build that bankroll for perhaps, I don't know, the pick 6 today. I like it. We'll take a look at the second race. So once again, a mile and a 16th on the main track. And the one horse that kind of pops off the page in terms of speed is the 3. I think he's going to be probably the pace setter in here. Indigo Tigress has some early speed in here as well. So I do think that it would set up for a horse like the 6 Champagne Time, who has that kind of closer type of running style.
Yeah, she's got a touch of hang in her, but things might just fall right into place with this field this afternoon. A late 6-1 on 2 races back. She's made consistent runs in the past. She's 2 for 22. She's going to be a very, very short price. I'm going to use her, on top. I think Lock Up the Bourbon, the 4 is going to be your best price shot. I go back to that race, January the 16th at Laurel, against the grain of the racetrack behind What If I Was Willing, who's held pretty good for him, Gabby. I think this horse can stalk, maybe even get the lead, leaving the far turn. The mile and a 16th, the 2 turn scares me. But for value purposes, she's going to be my user underneath.
Okay, with Lock Up the Bourbon, she is one. Her wins are kind of infrequent, but she very well could show up here today. A horse that we should mention is the 5 Ghetto Fabulous. This was a horse that it wasn't my cup of tea coming out of the Charlestown race 2 starts back, and I honestly thought that she just got a perfect setup, but she could get a perfect setup once again today.
She did, jumped up, ran a big one. She was with the bias that day, 5 wide. The 28th was really a negative rail day. If you're riding high and wide, that was pretty much the place to be at Laurel on April the 28th. So, yeah, numbers stack up well. A good race last time. The horses she beat really haven't come back to do a whole lot either.
Yeah, I think she got a perfect setup. She was with the track, and the horses haven't really gone on to hold their form outside of that race. So, kind of a negative approach to that horse. I did use the 1 towards the inside, My City, for Dove Houghton, Trevor McCarthy in the saddle. This horse, obviously, you have to toss the last race. The rider, the saddle slipped onto this horse's withers.
Yes.
It was pretty ugly. So look past that one. I thought it was an okay race in the slot 2 starts back, but a very solid effort at Laurel back in January, and I thought that she could maybe just stalk the speed, and it figures to be contended in that race. So we'll get to the third race here, a $5,000 claimer for 3-year-olds and upward, which have not won a race since November 18th, 2016, 6 furlongs onto the main track. And we'll start off with the 3 Celtic Moon for Andrew Simoff, because I wanted to show you a stat here. This horse is obviously stretched out in distance for the past 2 starts, but good stats. I'll show you positive stats for 2 connections in here, one of them being this one on the dirt, cutting back from routes to sprints. 33%, 12-horse sample size, positive ROI, and 58% in the money. So they're really all running well, and that's what I got from this horse. He's just been kind of on the engine and just not being able to show that kick that he usually shows at sprint distances. So I think this is the right move for this horse.
Yes, absolutely. You know, the speed of Road Agent, I like this horse, believe it or not, at a bomb price. Road Agent and maybe Steel, but scratches out some of the speed. And Celtic Moon, those run against better. You look at the company lines, Cowboy King, Rumbling Kyle. They're a little bit better horses, freshened up, turning back to the best distance. Makes a good solid run from off the pace. I think Brothers of the Time, though, could be tough. Casey Cartagena, do you have a stat on this horse, I believe?
I do. First off the claim for Casey Cartagena, we'll show you that. First off the claim with Dirt Sprinters, specifically a good sample size, 29 horses, 24%, a positive ROI, and 45% in the money. So that is good. This horse comes out of a questionable race in that he hesitated slightly coming out of the gate, and then he was kind of inside of horses around, I would say, the half-mile, 7/16 pole, around there. It almost looked like he shied away from other horses and then just lost all his speed.
Kind of sucked back, and that was it. Down once again. If you were down dead inside, that Laura always go back and take another look at those horses and see the trip that they got. Yeah, with the scratch of the 2 Road Agent, I think this horse is going to be awfully dangerous on the front end.
All right, and that is, so you did land, you defaulted into the 3 Celtic Moon in there. Okay, well, that is the third race, races 1 through 3. We will take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll tackle the 20-cent Rainbow 6 right after this break. Welcome back to Today at the Races. Now taking a look at the latter half of today's 9-race program. Of course, race 4 kicks off the 20-cent Rainbow 6, and I did come up with a ticket, and it's pretty affordable. Again, we had to go back to the drawing board with some key scratches today. I actually completely changed my opinion in the 6th and the 7th in terms of construction of the 20-cent Rainbow 6. I tried to beat the 1A in there. It's going to be very hard for that horse to lose.
Absolutely.
So I'm keying off of the 1A in race 7, kind of building up around that. Going to be having some coverage in the first leg of the sequence. I do really like Out of the Depths at a price. So 4 horses in race 4, followed by 3, by 2, by 1, by 4, by 2 for $38.40. So a nice affordable ticket. And again, we have that carryover just over $3,200 in the Rainbow 6. So we'll start off, and I believe you pulled a video spotlight replay of Out of the Depths.
Yeah.
This was last time when he got into some trouble.
Yeah, a lot of these horses unproven at the 1.8 distance on the turf course. Out of the Depths last time, and if we can go to that, April the 15th at Laurel. This horse has a little bit more tactical speed than what he displayed this day. First off of a layoff, coming into the stretch, he'll pick up the gray, making a bit of a run towards the back of the pack, about 4 wide. Comes up, tries to split horses there, coming to the 8th pole. Had lost a little bit of momentum and dives down towards the inside. This horse kept trying, closed up almost 5 lengths through the last furlong. I think this is going to set this horse up well. Some scratches in here, but this horse positionally with speed, I think he's going to be up close. I think Sheldon may not have him necessarily right on the front, but I think he can get a good stalking position here. 1 mile and 8, little tough to figure if he can kind of really finish through with that. But he's going to hold value in this race, no doubt about it.
I think if he uses his speed early to get into the game, the 1.125 isn't going to be an issue with him. He just has had unfortunate performances in the past. He's had troubled trips, and I don't think he's a closer. I really don't. I mean, he has one from maybe making up ground, but he's a better horse when he can be more forwardly placed, and he'll get that from the rail and with some of the scratches towards his outside. I even go back to his race on the 2nd of June here at Pimlico when he finished a really good second behind Debbie's Tood, who I remember was lone speed that day, and I think dropping from allowance or stakes company. So I really like him in here. I picked him on top from the get-go, but there are some scratches in here. So did you have to readjust, or did you like Frogman Mel from the get-go?
You know, I'm just taking a flyer with this horse. I'm looking at his races in New York. I'm looking. I don't think he's as bad as his last two. I mean, he's really run 2 poor races back to back. This barn is coming in and hit a price before Steve Closeris picks up Castrenzi, a live bug rider. Doesn't have to be too far back. I think this horse is kind of all or nothing type. I'll take the shot. You'll get a square price on the 8, I believe. Frogman Mel.
And I went back to try to especially watch his last race because, you could excuse the 2 races at Gulfstream because they were good races. Zenner, UC St. Louis, Eminent Force, Bingo Bango Bongo, some really nice horses at that level down in South Florida. But last race was just inexcusable in my opinion. And he almost kind of looked like he was climbing, switching leads, held his head really high. He just didn't look comfortable the entire time. But that said, when he won at Aqueduct back in November, he still had that type of gait, I would say, that high head action. So I don't know if you can read too much into it, but he's just going to have to get back to his form. I didn't see him the same way you did, but with some of the scratches, I threw him in 4th.
He's a flyer price. I mean, I think Soup to Coop is probably your horse to beat.
I think he's vulnerable.
Yeah, vulnerable. He was up last time. He was up too close to the pace. He's a deeper closer. I think he would like to see a little bit more speed in the race. Maybe Ursala go, I should say, out of the depths, possibly. But he should be able to draft over to position. First time going for Kieran. We talked about, turf's not really his thing, but he's a good, steady horse, Soup to Coop. He'll settle back and make a good, solid run from off of it. But I'm going elsewhere, a little higher prices.
That's why I didn't want to show this stat. I did find a stat for Kieran McGee first off the claim with turf routes, 1 for 29, 3%, a big negative ROI. That said, Soup to Coop has held form in every barn that he's ever been claimed into, so I don't think that's an issue. I do think that horses like Ursal and Out of the Depths have been improved with some of the scratches. The scratches hurt Soup to Coop, given his running style. All right, that is the 4th race. We get to the 5th. This does kick off the 50-cent late pick 5 with that industry low takeout at 12%. This is a maiden $40,000 event, 1.16 onto the main track. And I believe the 3, Grace Isabella, is the morning line favorite, is the horse to beat, dropping from Maiden Special Weight Company in for that. Not in for the $40,000 tag. A new rule that we brought here, if you are Maryland bred or Maryland sired, you're eligible to run in for the Maiden 40 condition and not eligible to be claimed.
Certainly. Maybe help her chances today. I mean, it's the right move. You get to protect. Good for the owners, I think. Yeah. Gives the Maryland bred owners of the Maryland breds a little bit better shot. They don't lose their stock. Yeah, first blush, I made this horse 6-5 when I came back to the race. Yeah, she's probably going to be awfully short. We have a scratch of the 6, Act of Kindness, Grace Isabella. Tactical speed for this group. She's going to be the one to beat, but she's a shorter price. I'm going to try to beat her in that early pick 4. Keys up against some good horses. I think Holiday Prayer, though, the 2 horse for Trombetta. We've seen this move before. Little stretch out blinkers on turf to dirt. Really throwing all the curves at this horse. But as a full brother, ran lower 60s on the dirt. That's good enough if he can get there. Akin to Bears Prospector, that horse actually won 7 times on the dirt, 1 on the turf too. Kind of a versatile horse, but we've seen this move so many times with Mike Trombetta. It's kind of the kitchen sink move, and it's often successful. Just looking at stats from turf to dirt, sprint to route, he's 23% and just shy of a positive ROI. So he wins with this type of angle.
oddly enough, you and I both land on the same horse. But other than those two horses, Keith, the 7, Paluxy Princess, she's taken a big drop in class, last seen on the dirt against Maiden Special Weight Company, behind Lights of Medina, who obviously won the Weber City Miss and will be in the Black Eyed Susan tomorrow.
Yeah, didn't have any speed whatsoever in that race. Goes to the turf a little bit more, comes back. She's got some staying power, and that might all need to be to get the job done in this race. It looks like Grace Isabella, if she's able to go out there and kind of walk the dog and get away with a slow fraction, she could be gone. But she's going to be such a short price. We had to go elsewhere.
I agree with you, and didn't have full faith in the pick 6, so had to use a little bit of coverage in that leg of the pick 6. Now we'll get to the 6th race. This kicks off the final pick 4 of the day. We're going out to the turf at 5 furlongs, non-winners of 2 lifetime, and for that 16 to 12.5 claiming price. And we wanted to go back and revisit a race that Takedown Charlie and Nico's Red Star both come out of.
Yeah, that was April the 23rd at Laurel, and you're going to pick up horses down towards the inside. Nico's Red Star, a little steady there, had the rail, and Takedown Charlie is up on the lead, which I didn't think he would be right up on the engine, but he was. You saw the one Nico Red Star back there have to steady again, wait for room. But Takedown Charlie takes a lot of heat, good internal fractions, and keeps on going. Gets beat by No Knock Raid, who made a nice run up the inside to get the job done. You'll see Nico's Red Star shift out late with a good late effort. I think Takedown Charlie is going to set a really good trip in here. Picks up Stevie Hamilton with some speed, stone speed to his outside, and the likes of Big Air, Tigers, Bob, Zapata, probably the horse to beat. You see the energy level, both of them finishing, kept on very well through the wire. But going to get a better trip today. I don't think he's going to have to duel. I think he's just going to sit there, let the others ding-dong up on the front end, slip through maybe inside or outside at the head of the stretch and get the job done.
And just judging by, and we mentioned this kind of earlier in the top of the show, judging by the way that the track was playing that particular day, I thought that it probably helped Nico's Red Star and probably hurt Takedown Charlie. And I, as you said, I don't think that is his best running style too. So we'll see about Takedown Charlie. I think he's got a big shot, but I also think Zapata is set for a big race. If you go back to his last turf event, that was over a yielding going 5.5 furlongs in early April at Laurel. He showed speed that day. Again, probably not really where you wanted to be, and not to mention that seemed to be a very productive race. All of the 3 top finishers came back to win, albeit some on the dirt.
Yeah, that was a good race. I just his lack of finish. I picked him that day. I expected a little bit more the last eighth of a mile. I didn't get it from him. They jammed down. I think Takedown Charlie, the one thing about that race on the 23rd, you go back and compare it over times. Final time was only 1 tick off of open 15 claimers. Make My Saturday won that race. So that's good enough to kind of get me over the hump with a little bit better price with the 3.
And how do you envision the pace scenario working out here? Wow. Because we've got Big Air, who on his good day, he is probably the fastest early. He just shoots out of the gate, and he's got a lot of early speed. We have Tigers Bop, who's pretty quick, Zapata, who likes to be forwardly placed, and then you have Al Cortez on credit ready. He might beat them all.
And 1 bourbon, 1 beer, showing speed at the 4.5. So I think things are going to be awfully fast and furious up front. I don't see anybody really shaking clear around the turns. That should set it up to our horses to the inside. Even Split might have a little shot moving outside to inside.
It's always difficult to predict pace scenarios in 5 furlong turf
doubt.
sprints.
No doubt.
But I agree with you. I think it's going to be a whole bunch of horses battling it out for the lead early. We'll get to the 7th race to kick off the final pick 3. This is a non-winners of 3, and for the 16 to 12.5 tag, 6 furlongs onto the main track. Have a couple of scratches in here too, including my top selection. I was trying to beat the 1A Miss Swisher. With that scratch, you got to go with her.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Yeah, and this is what they do, and they do it well. First into the barn last time out, it jammed down from 40 to 16. She just tracked the speed and went on. And nice visually the win. I mean, good finish time, on her correct lead, went out eagerly. The other likes here, they just really don't have the staying power at the 6 furlongs that I really see. Follow the Pedals is a hard horse to gauge, all over the place, synthetic, short, dirt, turf, long, you name it. Ends up back here for 16 on the turn back from a good turf try last time out. as a horse that came in and got the money, ran like a 1-9 shot, not a 38-1 in its debut in January. But I think she's going to find herself a little further back. Miss Swisher gets the jump on her.
Yeah, and I mean, they're just being competitive with her too. Obviously, she won for 16. You'd think that maybe they'd try to step her up a little bit, but this is how Kieran just wins as many races as he does. He's extremely aggressive, and I think she is definitely the horse to beat. Follow the pedals. I'm a little wishy-washy on her, whereas I do think that the 7 Frisian Flyer, I think she could probably sit a decent trip. She's coming out of a big race last time out, albeit against a little bit easier company at Penn National.
Easier company at Penn, that kind of picked her head up. She's a type now. You got a little scratch the speed. Scarlett's Ransom, Gloria Patry. She might find herself again up towards the front, Gabby. I think she's going to be a little bit better suitor. Pimentel's the right kind of rider. Maybe get her sit just off the pace.
Yep, I want to see that.
Late.
Yeah, I want her to reserve some of that early speed there. So that is the 7th race. As we get to the 8th to kick off the first half of the late daily double, we're going a mile and a 16th on the turf for this restricted Maryland bred or Maryland sired allowance. This is a good little race.
It is.
I really do like this particular race. I went back and forth between several, and lo and behold, I still wind up on Markakis.
I did too.
Oh,
I
do
mean,
you?
Yeah,
I didn't even see that.
I'm hoping this horse slips through the cracks. You see the kind of the ugly line, 10th beaten 17 at 32-1 and an open allowance. I got to forgive that. You see the comment, check, shut off into the far turn, drop back out of it. Really looking at the flow of the race. I think a comfortable trip for Markakis. He doesn't necessarily need to lead. He's run some big efforts in the past at a route of ground. I think third time off the bench, he's going to fire his best shot today, and I think you're going to get an okay price because he's been dirtied up off of those last 2 races.
He's been very dirtied up, and the thing about him though, Keith, is sometimes I get so confused of which Markakis we'll see. Is he the one who's going to be more forwardly placed on the lead, or just stalking from off of it, or is he just going to fall back and have to make up so much ground? That's what makes him a little difficult to predict. But we're talking about a horse that you could potentially get a decent price on.
Yeah, I mean that first race back, it was interesting. Katie kind of took the horse back and he ended up wide the whole way. I kind of liked him off of that race moving forward. And once again, he put a line through the last race. This is the shot. We're going to see the real Markakis today. I would think he's going to show up. Bay Bridge, I'll use as another price.
He's in Baltimore now. Markakis coming back to Baltimore.
Oh, okay.
No, okay. Okay. Anyway.
He's in Atlanta, isn't he?
Yes,
okay.
he used
but
to
he
be,
might
though.
come back. Yeah, I don't know if we play them this year or not.
I don't know.
No.
But the 2 enough is enough. I think this is a very intriguing horse for Mary Epler because he's getting back to the turf. And we'll go back and show you his last performance when he was on the turf. This was going a mile and a 16th when dropping in for that $16,000 tag. And for the longest time, I thought that that's exactly what this horse needed to do. Right. He was facing Allowance Company. He got caught behind Class and Cash and Berndine's 2 horses who wired the field that day, dropped him in under the handling of Horacio de Paz. And it seemed like that was enough. Right. Then off the claim, good performances. It looks like in the past few starts he's tailed off. But I like the fact that Mary freshens this horse up and comes back to a surface where I think he's better on.
Yeah, I think he might be a touch better on the turf, and he might be a horse that wants to be covered up a little bit. And he might just get that chance, get that kind of trip this afternoon. Bolivar could be forward. Maybe even just Call Me KL. That's another long shot I'm going to use in the mix of 3. This is a barn. It's a really good ROI. I really very rarely dismiss the Tim Woolley horse. And Bay Bridge, first off the claim, which Bay Bridge is going to show up? To the speedy Bay Bridge, or the horse that was taken back and came from a mile back last time out to finish with good interest in that open 11-5 race. That's good enough horses. He keys up again. He fits well in this state bred allowance race this afternoon.
And this is a field that has a lot going on. We even have No More Talk, who ran in the Miraclewood and the private terms. He looked like he was going to be an okay horse for Trez Abbott. And now the surface switch. He is by Not for Love. Of course, he's added the mare Parlay. It makes him a half-2 international star who won the Louisiana Derby, I believe. So there's the pedigree is there. I really liked him. I thought that he was going to be an improving horse, and he just hasn't shown up. So now he's on the turf.
Is this a desperation move? He's a full to DC Dancer. It was 0 for 2 on the turf. Really never ran that fast. And at the route of ground at a mile and 16th, you see on the dirt, he just kind of flatlines a little bit. He needs a little bit more punch. Magician's Calendar's another one. Running great on the dirt. Now we're going to try the turf. I don't get it. they obviously know more than me, so he'll probably win.
Coach Matthew, who
Yeah.
ran well on the turf first time out, hasn't been seen on the turf since, and now kind of comes
Yeah.
back. And
Yeah.
actually, I loved the way he ran first time out. It looked like he was waiting on another horse. Looked like he wasn't going to quite win that. Held on, but actually galloped out very strongly. I thought it was more of a greenness issue than a class issue. So I kind of like him at a little bit of a price. There's a lot going on in that race, and I like it. Hopefully, we can get
A little price
Marquez
here.
home, though,
That'd be
right?
good.
All right, we get to the 9th and final, a maiden $10,000 event, a mile and a 16th onto the main track. And when Pimlico rolls around springtime, we often see Tom Ionati just lay these horses into where they belong, and he's very successful at it. So I'm not trying to get creative here. It landed on the 2 Apollo 11.
Yeah, I've got him lined too high. I went back this morning and looked at this. You know, initial glance, it looks like Horseshoe Harbor, Alarming are going to jump out of it. I think the money's going to come in a little bit on Apollo 11. I agree with you. He comes out of a quick race, really sharp internals. He made a nice little move into it before flattening out late. The progression 5.5 to 7, now out to the mile and 16th. I like this move. Third time for the barn.
And Alarming you have to use for Claudio Gonzalez. This is I really did have faith in looking at the 20-cent Rainbow 6 and just using the 2-7 in the final leg. Maybe that's a little aggressive, but I think the road must go through these two, don't you agree?
I would think. Horseshoe Harbor is interesting. And once again, the extra distance, is he going to be able to kind of hold it together? Because I don't think he's going to be able to be too far away from Apollo 11, which really could set it up for Alarming. He's had some brutal trips early, has made some runs, overcoming some trouble. He's probably the one they'll beat, you know, when you're really considering the distance.
Steve Hamilton's making funny faces at us, so I
Is he?
think
I
that's
didn't
time
see
to
him.
go.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
okay.
always fun to be on
All
this jock's balcony, isn't it? We
You
get
never
to
know
see
what you're going to get, huh?
bird's eye view of the racetrack, and you never know what you're going to see up here. So thank you for joining us here on Today at the Races. We've got a 9-race card on tap. A little toasty today, but looking forward to get Preakness Week kicked off. And best of luck, and thank you for joining us here on this afternoon. Dave Rodman will be up next with those scratches and changes. Good luck.
Good luck.